Welcome, everybody. It's that time of year again. I guess the third time this year. Spring Split format has been announced, and I'm going to break it down for you through everything. We're going to talk about the pros, the cons, why it is the way it is, why is the grass green, why is the sky blue. I don't know. Something about the way that the light beams come in and get bent by the atmosphere or something like that. Not really sure. But that's why the sky's blue. Anyway, Sprite Split format. Let's start talking about it. The things we knew before heading in to this Spring Split is that it would be 20 teams. 20 teams would go in. One team will obviously win. A lot of teams will get points. And we'll go through all the stuff. Obviously, it's a new format. We always like to spice it up here a little bit. Basically, we're going to have group stage of 5 teams in each group. So that's 4 groups. Go into a knockout gauntlet. Fancy name. And then finally, into a single elim bracket, like we all know and love. Back in the fall, so 8 teams, you go into a bracket, 1 life on the final day, and that's it. And then you find yourself a winner. So, no more 2 lives at the end of the tournament. You'll have some lives in the beginning. Very similar to fall, I feel like this one is. Now, this format, I think, kind of works out pretty well, because I feel like the double elim, it's really based on seed a lot of the times, right? Where you can get into a bad bracket and all that. But for the most part, in the fall, we figured out how teams should be seeded pretty correctly to go into the double elim. But now the difference between those 2 splits is people are making roster moves, but only making the roster moves where they don't forfeit points for the most part. So I think the group stage, a big pro to this is that I feel like a lot of teams are going to forfeit their points, right? And seeding's going to get a little bit wacky. With groups, that kind of helps, because even if you do have a stack group, all you got to do is just not come in last. And then after that, you don't face anyone in that group again until you get to bracket stage, into the final part of the format. So, like, even if you are in a stack group, you can still make your way up the ladder by playing teams from other groups, so that could help. And obviously, you can still get bad brackets throughout this, but that is one pro to start us off. But let's continue. Let's dial it back, and let's talk about the actual format. Every single RLCS event for this one is just a 4-day event in a row. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday will be kind of like grid streams. The orgs are going to stream. There'll probably be some community streams. I'm not sure exactly how it all works. But so the first 3 games of the round robin, not 3 games for everybody, because some teams have buys, obviously with a 5-team group. A team is going to have a bye in each of those rounds. They'll each get 1 bye throughout. So 3 rounds of the 5 will be played on day 0 on these org streams or community streams or whatever. Then we go into the main broadcast and, the B streams and all that on day 1, where you have 2 games left in the group stage. So what will likely happen is, hopefully, we kind of can see the important games that are about to come up. Now, obviously, there's a lot of important aspects. Between the 2 and 3 seed is a huge one, and obviously between the 4 and 5 seed are the huge games. So we'll probably try and focus in on those games when we can. But basically, it's group stage. Then you get your 5th place team. They are gone. They are out of the tournament, so you can't come in last in your group. Now, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 go to the knockout gauntlet, which is basically just a double elim bracket, but 1 and 2 begin in the upper part of the bracket. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about what that actually kind of looks like. So I'm going to go to Wikipedia, our best friend, and basically all it is like how RLCS, the like playoffs, they were, right? It was the 3 and 4 seed would go into the upper bracket. This, like right here, we got Energy and Sonics from Season 9. They were the 3 and 4 seed, right? They're in the uppers. And basically, they're playing for spots into the semifinals. So, for Energy and the Sonics, they were, so we'll call them the 1 and 2 out of their groups. They play a match. If they win, they move on to their semifinals, which basically means they move on to the bracket stage on the final day. If they lose, they go down to play the winner of a 3 and 4 seed from other groups as well. So this would be the Cloud9 and Ghost game and the 5 and 6. Whoever wins that match would then play here, and then whoever wins that will also make it to the bracket stage, but with a lower seed, obviously, that they're going to play one of these teams that had a win up here, so one of the top 4 teams in there. So that's how that's all going to work. Now, the important factors here is the way we seed. I believe the way it works is we're going to have 1 team from each group in these knockout brackets. I'm pretty sure that is the likely outcome there. So it will be, you know, a 1 seed from Group A, a 2 seed from Group B, a 3 seed from Group C, and a 4 seed from Group D. So you won't get any rematches here. And then you'll move on to bracket stage where that is perfectly seeded, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, based on where it all began. So obviously that's not how it's going to play out. Teams are going to get upset and move around a little bit, but that's how it is planned to work. So that is how the bracket works. At the end, 8 teams, we all know that bracket. So let's go back over here to this brain stuff format. So that's how the knockout gauntlet works. Basically, the 1 and 2 seeds, they're guaranteed at the bare minimum a 9th place finish. Because if they go 0 and 2 in that knockout gauntlet, they still finish 9th. They don't finish into the 13th spot. If the 3 and 4 seed obviously are down to their last life, but they can still finish in the 13th spot, or they can move all the way up and win the whole thing still. So basically, group stage, there's some important levels. Again, we talked about the 2 and 3 seed are important because if you're the 2 seed, then obviously you have an extra life. That is huge. If you're the 3 seed, you don't. And then obviously 4 and 5, because 5 is just out of the tournament, and 4 moves on. Now, it's important to be that number 1 seed anyway, because you would rather play a team that didn't win their group. So you're still trying for those aspects. But that is how it all plays out. Now, the reason why we do it this way and not just a full-on gauntlet where it's like the 1 seed moves on to the top 8, and then the 2 seed is in that 9th spot, and then 3 and 4 play each other. So, 3 and 4 play. Whoever wins would play 2. Whoever wins plays 1. Well, there's a couple aspects. We talked about how there's probably going to be a lot of teams that have, 0 points, and, there is a chance groups are stacked. So if that happens, obviously, 2 teams out of that 1 group can still win the knockout gauntlet and get a really good seed, right? So it leaves a little flexibility there. Also, so this will allow that every team plays on every day of the tournament. So 1 and 2 seeds, it's not like the 1 seed just automatically moves on to day 3 and they're kind of coming in cold. They didn't get to play on day 2, so they'll still get to play a match there. It also works out for the 2 seeds that if they do lose, there is no excuse of well, we didn't have a warm-up game to play against the 3 and 4 seeds. Well, they did. They lost it, but they still did. But that'll allow more games to be broadcasted on the day 2, because otherwise that would be a little bit light, where it'd be hard to fit it onto 1 stream, but it would be a little bit too sparse to fit it onto 2 streams. So it kind of will blend that with the streams there, so you'll be able to see more Rocket League action on day 2. So a lot of good aspects of it, and obviously the main thing I think is just it allows, it's there's a team in a group or a group that is completely stacked, they can still have, all 4 of their teams, they can make it to that bracket stage. They aren't completely screwed by just getting into a group with everyone. Obviously, unless they come in last, but, if it's that stacked, you didn't beat 4 teams, too bad. So that's how that all plays out. That is RLCS regionals. Majors a little bit different. I'm not sure if it says it here. I think it might say it down here a little bit. So we'll pop over there. Here are the dates for the regionals. Basically, it's every single weekend except for Easter weekend coming up. We're starting March 11th, which is not this weekend, but the following weekend. So definitely come check it out. But it's a sprint, right? And then we got majors coming in May 15th. But they're already announced that the majors will happen in region only. And it'll be 10 teams. So the major comes in May 15th, May 22nd, the usual, so I assume for OC and SAM, it'll be, like an OC weekend, a SAM weekend, then a Europe weekend, then an NA weekend. But we know Europe and NA. We don't know OC and SAM just yet. Now, the only thing that I'm not a huge fan of, personally, is the major format. Basically what it is, it's still 2 groups of 5. But then it gets brought down to just that final day bracket, 8 teams into a single elim. I personally don't like that. That's what we did in Grid Winter Split, and it didn't go over that well, where teams would have a really poor group, but then it didn't really matter if they won against a first-place team. Obviously, it still helps to get seeded well, because then you'll play a worse team. But you're in the exact same thing as a 4th seed. So once you win, 2 games in your group, you're basically like, well, doesn't matter as much if we win this group at this point or if we're 3rd seed, right? So it matters a little bit, but it could also be a team say BDS accidentally doesn't win their group. It might actually be better off that you don't finish in the 3 spot or something. I don't know. But I'm not a huge fan of them being all in that same boat. The one thing I would rather was just go full gauntlet and don't have any games where you have like 1 versus 2s or 1s versus 1s. You just go 1, 2, and 3, 4. But obviously that has drawbacks, which we talked about before, where it's like some teams are going to come in warmed up and all that stuff. But I think that would have probably been the most fair way, because obviously then if you win your group, you're guaranteed a top 4 finish at the major. And then if you don't, then it's top 5. If you come number 2, 3 and 4s would battle it out down there. Like, I personally would have preferred that, but hey, there's pros and cons to every single format. So that's how the major works. 8-team single elim after group stage. Again, we're only eliminating the 5th place teams. Now, one other note. His grid is coming back, obviously, but it'll be a round-robin format now, where every team will play everyone once. Top 6 make the playoffs. So 5 days of league play into 1 day of playoffs, top 6, which we did with the World Championship bracket. Or not the World Championship, but the Regional Championship bracket that we've always done. My only downside to this, like, obviously, round-robin, we've done it a bunch before. I'd like it here. Top 6 is going to mean probably by day 4 and 5, a lot of teams are just out of it. And it's going to mean a lot of games are a little bit more meaningless. But we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully teams just give it their all the entire way through. But you can definitely take a look at that. That is, so those dates are available. It's basically 2 days every so often. I think it's on this rule page here. Sorry for the big white text here. But yeah, grid qualifiers, grid promotion, yada, yada. Grid league play, Monday, March 29th, 30th for NA. And then Europe, it's 22nd, 23rd, 31st. So here are the dates, basically, for all of those. So if you want to check out Grid, definitely check them out. It's going to be fun because it's going to be 3 games for every single one, every single day, except for the playoff, which will be super hype, obviously, because it's a playoff. Top 6 make that, and obviously, Grid wildcard stuff and all that crap. But I don't know if we've even said anything about Grid Wildcard yet. But, there is a Grid Wildcard. It's said it earlier. 9 teams make the major plus 1 Grid Wildcard. Don't know if they announced how many teams it is yet. We'll find out. It might be in here. It might not be. I don't know. But that is the Grid format. And that is the RLCS Spring format. Let me know if you like the Spring format. If you hate it, let me know too. Did you like Winter Split? Did you hate Winter Split? I don't know. I feel like Spring Split, very close to Fall Split. Very, very close. Fall Split, obviously, Swiss stage, a lot more teams. Spring Split's a little bit more, smaller, but it's still going to mean a lot. Now, the other last point, which I don't know if points are listed here. I thought they were. They are, right here. 451 points in the Spring Split for first place. Basically, 50 points up, once again, that we did from Winter Split and then the Fall Split. What does guarantee Team BDS your first World Championship team. They have qualified for the World Championship because they have so many points that they cannot fall out of the top 6, even if they didn't show up to any of these events. Absolutely nuts. There's other teams that are looking good, obviously. Like NA, you have your big 3. EU, you still have Vitality. But no one else has clinched that I know of except for BDS. So well done, BDS. You win something else. Can you stop winning? Can you pay for my dinner, please? Thank you. But there you go. Spring Split format. If it was confusing, it's a little confusing on paper. I think that is the major con to the knockout Gauntlet. But once you see it in action, it's really not that bad. And I think it does help to get every single team on every single day of the stream and all of that. I think the pros, they absolutely outweigh the cons there. So knockout Gauntlet, we'll see how it all goes down. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see some 3 and 4 seeds come out of nowhere and make this single elim bracket on the final day. And then obviously, gotta love just single elim, man. It's so nice at the end of a tournament, just like win or go home. Simple as that. No second lives, none of this. Let's just do it. So we're gonna go back to that for this split. That is it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry I'm not making a lot of YouTube content lately. Been busy with work / just life. So we've kind of allowed the YouTube to kind of fall to the wayside, and Twitch as well. But, a good work-life balance, right, at some point. But that's going to do it for me here. Thank you once again for watching. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments, and I'll try and reach out and answer your qualms. But that'll do it. See you later. Bye-bye.